Good morning to everyone in the Americas. Good evening to everyone in Southeast Asia. Good afternoon, everybody across Africa and Europe and everyone else in between. Welcome to this dialogue in the context of the series of JASS, Women Radically Transforming a World in Crisis. As women, we have come to know that crisis presents opportunity. And in these many opportunities, we are very delighted to be greeting you from Johannesburg, where we are hosting a cross-movement, cross-issue dialogue with activists and colleagues who are working across many struggles. And they are all joining us in this moment where we are very excited to be presenting to you the video, the documentary that JASS led with the Amadiba Crisis Committee activists struggling across the Wild Coast to actually preserve, protect, and fight against the stealing, the sucking or extraction of what is their indigenous motherland. And I trust that everyone has had an opportunity to view the no more than 17-minute documentary that we have made available across the JASS social media platforms, including YouTube, because we wanted everyone to actually join this conversation, having viewed that. But if you haven't had an opportunity to do so, do not worry, but feel free to do so after this conversation, because we hope that if anything, whatever we are going to talk about is actually going to encourage you to go and see this offer that we are making with the Amadiba Crisis Committee. Now, there is so much one can say about who Amadiba Crisis Committee is, but with me here joining me is, of course, possibly the most visible face of the Amadiba Crisis Committee in Xolobeni, Nonhle Mbuthuma, who is the spokesperson of Amadiba. And next to Nonhle is our sister Zandile Nsibande, coming with us, coming to join us from a very important movement in South Africa called Abahlali baseMjondolo. Zandile is a co-founder of Abahlali, and they struggle to defend land and dignity. And she will talk more about that. And next to Zandile, Makoma Lekalakala. She insisted that I say she is an activist who is committed to struggle for the saving of our environment and finding solutions for the climate nightmares that we are facing today. Now, colleagues, comrades, and friends, the story of Amadiba is an example of what is happening across many of our sites. It is a story that invites us to reflect on what it means. Actually, what is it that is about land that is so sacred? What is it about struggling against extractives? When people talk about we need to save the economy, we need to emphasize on development, you cannot stop advancement and the new world order to interfere with what is with what people are planning. And these struggles are not only being waged in South Africa or across the African continent. And later on, I will invite with you my JASS sisters, Zeph from the Philippines, who I will introduce properly when she comes on, as well as Daisy in Honduras, who will also be able to share with us how they have viewed the Amadiba struggle and how that interacts and interrelates in their context. So having said that, again, welcome everybody. I want to ask my sister Nonhle. Nonhle, it was beautiful to walk with you and be able to do that documentary. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to share, especially for those who haven't watched the documentary. Why is the land of the Xolobeni people, of the Amadiba peoples, so important to defend? And what exactly are you defending? What are you, who are you fighting against?
Thank you. I'm sorry. Sometimes technology is not my style. I just even know, I didn't know where can I press the button. Yeah, thank you so much, and greetings to all sisters, all the corners of the world. What we're fighting in Xolobeni in Eastern Cape is to preserve our ancestral land and against extractivism, against capitalism. Right now, we started this battle quite a long time before the democracy that we having after 1994. The battle in Pondoland, it was started early 1950s, but the same battle that we are still fighting today of protecting the land, preserving the land for the next generation. And the reason why the land is so important, the land is our lives. The land is who we are. The land, in order to identify ourselves, is because of land. And the land, it brings us food. The land, we buried ourselves. The land is our sacred place, you know, but the developers, they don't understand that, especially as women. In order to feed children, our children, we need to have land. Even if you go and work to get money, but the money that you want to buy food, the food that it comes from the land. That is why the land is so important to us. And it's unfortunately, there is a conflict between the land and the economy. We understand that our crisis economy that we are facing, but it compromises the humanity in order to make money. That is why, as Amadiba, we decided to say no to mining. And many communities, they fight for benefits. But for us, we are not fighting for benefit, but we said that, yes, we know that our economy as South African is in crisis, but we need to do or to bring alternative. Alternative is here. We do have alternative. Agriculture is one of alternative because agriculture is a long term, it's sustainable. But mining is short term. We know that once you mine, your land is going to be destroyed and it's irreversible. The damage is going to be done by the mining. We've seen in other communities, but unfortunately, mining is one of quick making money. Agriculture, it's a slow making money. That is why our government is always choosing mining over agriculture. But we know that even if it's making money, but it causes a havoc in our communities. That is why we said no. And we also looking at, as we are facing with the global warming as a country, now where the land is going to be polluted, where our water is going to be contaminated, where is us as human beings? Because we can make money, but this money we're going to make from this land we'll use to go to the doctors to try to heal ourselves. That is why we said the communal land where people are living there to organize themselves and also to do things in a collective way. This is how the life that we want to live. And it's a good life and it's sustainable and it's healthy. But this kind of pushing the people away from the land is very, very bad, and it causes a lot of homelessness, especially to the mothers and children. And it caused a lot of people living under the bridges, living homelessness. That is why we said no, because we have home, we have water, we have shelter. What do we need more? But we need our government to learn that development starts from the people, not from the bottom-up approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nonhle, for sharing with us really what is behind this struggle that is being waged with so much passion and commitment by the peoples of Xolobeni. Sis Zandile from Abahlali. Now there's a lot of rhetoric, especially in South Africa, about we want land without, we want land, right? But from the perspectives of Abahlali, which really, with its motto, land and dignity, how does Abahlali see as like the importance of being in alliance and supporting and in solidarity with the peoples of Amadiba or Xolobeni? How do you see that? What are the interrelations for you, the way you struggle for land and dignity?
Good afternoon, comrades. My name is Zandile Nsibande from Abahlali baseMjondolo. As Abahlali baseMjondolo, we decided to support Amadiba Crisis Community because we're also fighting for land, housing, and dignity. Since we know that in 1913, there was a Land Native Act which was preventing the Black people to buy land from the white people. Then in 2005, the ANC introduced the other law, which was saying willing buyer, willing seller principle, but it didn't help us because we didn't have money to buy land because we are poor, we are unemployed, and we can't buy something which was stolen from us. I can't meet someone who stole my dress on the line and say, can I please buy the dress? So we thought that is not good for us. Then as Abahlali baseMjondolo, we decided to form this struggle in 2005, the struggle for land, housing, and dignity, because we have seen that the people who are living in the shacks and the people who are living in rural areas are not taken serious. They are not being treated with dignity because they are poor. The most important thing on land, the government is using land to get money. Profit is better than the lives of the people. So that's why we decided to join hands with Amadiba Crisis, because those are the people who had been undermined because they don't have money. Since Amadiba Crisis, we are in a havoc where the land had been sold to the people who are going to do mining. There are similarities between them and our movement, because where the movement started in 2005 at Kennedy Road, where I'm coming from, where we started the movement because we had been promised that there was a land where we were waiting for RDP houses to be built on. Then one day we saw the tractors cleaning that land. Then we went to ask, is it a construction to start the RDP houses? And they said, no, this land belongs to the business person who's going to manufacture bricks. And we said, no, it can't happen. It can't happen. Then we decided to bring the whole community of Kennedy Road to block the road, because we have seen that there are empty promises and betrayal from the government officials. So that's why we are supporting Amadiba Crisis. And on our struggling, we've seen a lot of people losing their lives, like what happened in Amadiba Crisis Center. We know they lost their member, Bazooka. So it's happened within Abahlali. We lost 18 comrades through this land struggle. Last year, the 28 women were sleeping outside at Azania settlement. But while the government is saying that we must stay at home, they were sleeping outside because of illegal evictions. So that was struggling with them. It's just the same. At one day, we lost our comrade, Uthuli Ndlovu, who was the chairperson of that area, because the councillor was selling the RDP houses and then Thuli exposed the councillor. So this thing is going on and on, but the women are still strong in the struggle. As I saw the film in the Amadiba Crisis. And the other thing is that in 2018, we were told that we must amend the section 25 of the Constitution. Then we sent our amendments. On our amendments, we said we want communal title deed. A communal title deed per each and every settlement, because we don't want individual title deed. Because if I can get a title deed for myself, I'll go buy a car. If I can't afford to pay for that car, I'll say I've got this land and I'm gonna sell that land. As Nonhle was saying, that land is me. I can't accept money rather than land. Land is the world. Land is where I'm going to sleep when I died. I'll be 6 feet underground. Land is everything. Land is something that is important while we are still alive, even when you are dead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sis Zandile. I want to come back to spotlight exactly women in the next round of questions. But before we go to the next round, Sis Makoma, I know you've done incredible work around, making many of us understand the interconnections between the environment, the climate, and defending that is so us, that is historically us in many ways. When you listen to Usis Nonhle and the community as Xolobeni, and you listen to Usis Zandile, the struggle Abahlali, what is it at the heart really for you as someone who is not located in Kulauma context, but who does work on environmental justice and climate issues? What is it that for you comes up?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think I find myself privileged and also to be part of this panel discussion. And I would want to say that we are here because of solidarity. We feel we are in each other's shoes. What came out is the notion that you dare speak against the injustices inflicted on us, particularly if you are women, your life is in danger. We are here, we're not sure of what's happening back in our homes. And this is the situation I think the three of us can relate to. And that's exactly what came out of the clip that I've watched. But more, what comes out is that there's a deliberate move of erosion of generations, long cultures and traditions that are embedded in the land. There's threats that are coming out, which are not only happening in South Africa, but are happening in other parts of the world, that of environmental degradation. However, the beautiful constitution that is revered the world over here in the South African Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, Section 24, says everyone has got a right to live in an environment that is not harmful to their being. But unfortunately, we see that this continues, and it continues on our watch. And that's why we're standing up. We are saying no injustices can happen when we are here, because it's about us, it's about our land, it's about our environment, it's about the future generations. And we see the projects like the ones in Xolobeni are those kind of projects that are violating the very rights that we have in our constitution. They actually are destroying our dignity as a people. If the land is taken away from you, if the biodiversity around you is being destroyed, that would mean that your dignity is taken away. But then with what is happening, we see that the biodiversity that has been restored and preserved for generations, it's being destroyed. And this have been done through what Nonhle had said, that this is their ancestral land. The ancient wisdoms have been the ones guiding us as to what needs to be done. And this is what is being protected, the biodiversity, the livelihoods of the people, the future generations, the people's cultures, traditions, sacred sites in that area. And it's, I must say that it's not only at Xolobeni. This is a phenomenon that we see in other parts of South Africa, in the continent, and also in other parts of the world. So if we don't stand up and fight, we'd also be making a mock to some of the intents that have been put out there by our government. We're now talking about a just transition to a low carbon development. How do we achieve that just transition to a low carbon development? We have to achieve it by making sure that there's conservation, there's restoration, there's rehabilitation of the land that has been destroyed, but also we keep those natural sites that we have as they are. I think for us, what is important is that while we're standing, we should mitigate and we should stop anything that comes our way. And this is what the Amadiba Crisis Committee are exemplary of doing. The other thing is adaptation. They have to put up in adapting to the areas that they live in. But that adaptation would mean that they protect what they are living under. And that would mean that their livelihoods needs to be saved. What also comes out of the clip that I've watched, it's the collective resolve of the community to protect something that has been kind of destroyed or that has been disrupted in our daily lives, and coming together would mean that we have that invisible power that the Amadiba Crisis Committee and the other committees in South Africa are unleashing to protect their dignity, to protect the environment, and to ensure that the future generations don't suffer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sis Makoma, for making all of those interlinkages. We were having a rich discussion in this room about what is community and what community is not, and really lifting that communal, all of the issues that actually speak so much to our identities, beyond like just what one sees and one can and see and touch. But there is one question before I invite anyone who may have a question in the room or somewhere else in the world. Think about the question you would like to pose to our panelists, or for us to continue to be in conversation. There is something I want to pose, like for a quick reflection for everyone. Two things come up, like Mautumhlaba nguwe, the land is you. And there are just women all over. There are just women. In a sad way, you see Zandile speak about the number of people murdered. And the majority of the people who are in harm, or even you, Nonhle, going into hiding, it's women. Mrs. Makoma will say, like, who are the people who are holding biodiversity too much at heart? This is not to say like our, male brothers and fathers do not do that. But what is it exactly that you think like is so important that women are the ones who are like so in the forefront and keen to be the preservers?
I think it's because of us as women. When it comes to land, we always put our children first. We always think for children. That is why when it comes to defend the land, you find the women are more on the forefront. It's not that the men are not there. But for example, in our case, as I said, that the struggle is not started now, it started long back in 1950s. There was a time where we were given by the capitalist a choice that you must choose between the soil and money. Those things were just being brought in front of us. But we didn't choose. Our ancestors, our grandmothers, our grandfathers, they chose land. And we're just being called that Pondo tribe are the most stupid people on the earth because we choose land over money. And when we asked them why you choose land, they said because you choose money and then the money you consume and then it's finished. But if you choose land, the generation and the generation and the next generation will benefit, but the money will end only for the person that took it. That is why, as women, we are on the forefront and we fight no matter how it's difficult. And you can see on the movie, the more majority are women. And even some men are trying to come and join. But immediately when they find, no, there's no money, it's only land, they try to change the route. But the women, they never ever change the route. They keep fighting because they know at the end of the day, we need to put the food on the table. And when the child is hungry, it always says, Mom, I'm hungry. That is why the women are so strong to fight the land, because they know that also when we died, we'll end on the land. That is the life of a human being. It will end from the land. And also when we're giving birth, this issue of hospital is something new. Before we're giving birth at home and the children were being held by the land. Mm-hmm. That means the use of land is everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nonhle, for that. And for you, Sis Zandile, as a co-founder of Abahlali and the role of women in the struggle of Abahlali.
Good afternoon, comrades, again. For me, as a woman within Abahlali, and since I became a woman leader in 2008, because we have seen that Abahlali needs their space as women to talk about their challenges. So we had a women's league where we spoke to them that if you are a woman, you don't have to stay on an abusive relationship. So Abahlali women needs land for food security, for housing, that will give them dignity. Because if you have food security garden, you are going to have vegetables, then you are going to sell it to the market and you'll be financially independent. The other thing is that most of Abahlali women are brave enough to face even the police, if the police are shooting them while we are protesting for land. The women are always in the forefront. They are not scared. They say, just shoot me. If you're shooting me for my land, it's cool. I'll die for a good cause. They are not cowards. For example, we had our comrade Nqobile Nzuza from Cato Crest, who was 17 years old, but she died for land. It was a protest. They were being evicted more than 28 times. Their houses were being demolished. Then the police shoot her at the age of 17 years. So Abahlali women always say, amandla ngawethu ngenkani, because inkani, it's the main thing that will make you get land ownership. Thanks.
Stubbornness is what's going to get us the land. Thank you so much, Sis Zandile. Sis Makoma, what do you think about this question? I don't know if it's kind of like the same thing in the environmental climate justice movement, that you have women in the forefront thinking about really solving the crisis that is amongst us.
Thank you, Pumi. There's a South Sotho adage that says, a woman, loosely translated, says, a woman goes to an extent of holding the sharpest edge of a blade with her bare hands in order to protect her offspring.
Mhm.
And I think that adage talks a lot, that women, since they are the ones who give birth, everyone all over, it's born by a woman. And that gives the woman not even an obligation, but the natural instinct to protect. Women, we find that a lot of women are in the lead, not only in the environmental justice sector, but in all social, environmental, economic, and political issues that we're dealing with. And this just tells us that these are the people who have given birth. These are the protectors. These are the people who are creators. And in such, you always find them at the forefront. And being at the forefront, it's not only for them because they don't have anything to do, but it's for them to protect life. You would go to any other area where there's environmental injustice, where there's social ills or injustices of any form, you'd find women being at the core and being part of those struggles to reverse the injustices. And that is why women are brave. That is why women are at the forefront. That is why women are not afraid to challenge injustices in whatever form that comes and disrupts their norms or their lives.
Thank you so much, my sisters Nonhle, Zandile, and Makoma. Here in the room, I'm going to do something I don't get to do when we are on Zoom. Two hands, there are two people who actually wrote their names down. Because we are in a conversation, cross-movement, cross-issue, they are also going to reflect about the video that they saw. I'm going to invite two people, Umandisa, who works for Rise Up and organizes against EGBV in South Africa. Tell us, comrade, you signed up, Ugutiena, you want to reflect on this struggle that is being waged by Amadiba Crisis Committee in the Wild Coast. And you do not have a microphone, I'll lend you mine.
Thank you so much, Leader. I'm just wanting to reflect on how proud I am of the communities that have come together and really stood for their rights and the right to their communities, and ensuring that capital doesn't get to decide what happens to them. And they've taken ownership and have decided for themselves what they want to see happening with their land. The land struggle is really important in South Africa, and it permeates through all levels of our society. And it's so beautiful to see young women, older women, women within community spaces, rural women, really taking up this challenge and being at the forefront. Amandla.
Thank you so much, Mandisa. Comrade Vusi as well signed up. Why is that struggle so important for you, Baba?
Yes, yeah, thanks very much. For us, this struggle is some form of an inspiration. It inspires us to fight on, having been victims as the African people and the African people of color throughout the world of dispossession, when during the expansion of European capital markets, we fought many years against the invasion of land. The struggle advanced by the comrades there at Xolobeni is an inspiration that we should continue to fight the struggles that have been fought by our heroes in the past and continue to be fighting the struggle for liberation in this country. It's just a demonstration that otherwise for us in this country, 1994 meant focal because land is still in the hands of those who stole it as back as in 1500. Thank you very much.
There you have it, everybody joining us from everywhere across the world. These are the issues that are being raised by Umhlaba Nguwe. The land is you, that Amadiba and Just Associate offered us today. I'm not sure if there are any questions from the Zoom link, because I'm unable to read those from where I am sitting, which we will take after this round. But I would like to invite my sister, Zephanie Rapolo, who is also an environmental justice activist, a strategist, a writer, a thinker, and a dear sister who is the regional co-director of JASS Southeast Asia, to now reflect in what you have heard from this room in Johannesburg and what you have seen from the documentary. What are the interconnections you see with the struggles being waged in Southeast Asia that you accompany in your role as JASS Southeast Asia Co-Regional Director? Zephanie.
Hello, everyone. Greetings from the Philippines. So nice to be with you in this occasion and hybrid in a sense. I feel like I'm also in the room. Thank you so much for organizing this, Kumi, and allowing us to share. First and foremost, I am in solidarity with your struggle. The struggle in Xolobeni, the struggle for land resonates very much with our struggle in the country, in the Philippines, as well as in different parts of Southeast Asia. We've seen rural and indigenous women at the forefront because land is life, and land is us, land is you. And it's very much interconnected with who we are as peoples. One of our elders here in the Philippines told us that if you will lose your language and land, you lose your identity. And so that's very much powerful in terms of how we have continued to assert for our right to land and self-determination. Because years back in the 1980s, where I am located is known as the sugar bowl of the country. We were colonized by Spain and left land into haciendas. And so we've inherited this massive sugarcane plantations in the country. We're being handed to a colonizer from the United States and have influenced or designed the market where they can continue extracting sugar from this part of the country. And in the 1980s, when one of the biggest demand from that sugar is from the United States, when they shifted to artificial sweeteners, it really caused massive crisis to a lot of workers. and tenants in the haciendas, in the sugar plantations, which causes an increased rise of resistance and revolution in the country. Development is by design not made for the people. Our colonial histories have been deliberately leaving rural and indigenous peoples, particularly women, dispossessed by our very source of life. And come the climate crisis, where business as usual solutions are being put forward, not recognizing how much of our life will continue to be at the margins of disasters if we continue to treat climate change as source of profit and business. They continue to concession massive land, hectares of land, not recognizing that this is our home, this is the buffer zone when it comes to disasters. Technical solutions, technological solutions should be given for free and none with no strings attached. This is their accountability to people that has been dispossessed for many years because of their capital interests and surplus of profits. And so I feel the same way on the connection of land to our identity, as I myself comes from an indigenous line of women that I feel so guilty about, because now that I feel like the years of colonialism departs me from that very existence, that very identity that I have, that I always want to connect with. There's so much distortion of history that we need to unlearn and continue to connect with. And to begin with is to value and recognize what land means to life. And so, sisters in Johannesburg right now, the struggle in your country is our struggle too. And our struggle against capitalist oppression and the continued expansion of neoliberal policies is our struggle too. And we can only rise above it if we continue to organize within our communities, within our corners of the world, and know that this fight is shared across and it's bigger than what we think it is. In the Philippines, we say, "Makibaka, huwag matakot." And that's the message I will leave to you all. It means dare to struggle, dare to win. Amandla.
Dare to struggle and dare to win. Amandla ngempela. Amandla! Amandla! Thank you so much, Zeph, for bringing in insights from Southeast Asia, speaking from the Philippines with us all over the world. Thank you so much for that, and that message of solidarity, and indeed the importance to keep making the interlinkages amongst our struggles, right? So that we don't feel lonely and think like we are only waging these struggles as South African exceptionalists, right? So we know that. Thank you so much, Zeph, for that. Daisy Flores, JASS Communications Manager in Mesoamerica, my ecofeminist sister, who also joins us today from Honduras to also share what is happening in Mesoamerica and indeed across Latin America and the Caribbean that you would like to bring to our conversation today. Daisy?
Hello, everyone. I'm sending you big hugs from here. And I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be part and to see your faces and to be part of this experiment of an Ivrit conversation and being able to be there with you, not just in solidarity as we are in these days with you and all the crisis committee, but to be with you and to be able to see your faces and to be able to connect is very important for the struggles. I hear you talking about how you preserve land. And first, I want to thank you, sisters. I want to thank your struggles and thanks your resistance and your stubbornness and thank you for sowing hope as well as you preserve land. I think we are connected in this struggle. We in Mesoamerica also face all the claws of extractivism and capitalism, as well as Asef said, all the claws of and the inherit of colonialisms. We have been colonized, and I think this idea of development is coming from the colonialism and all the ideas of being able to serve and to exploit the land and the earth itself and life itself. It's coming also from there and also from the patriarchal society that we live on. I think it's preserving land from that. It's also, we also aim to create a better world for us, for all of us, not just for us in this moment, but also aiming for a better future for next generation, and a future with less hunger, a future with more water for all of them. Also to preserve identity, as you were saying, we here in Mesoamerica and in Latin America struggle as well to preserve identity. Many of our identity has been erased and colonized because we do have US here very next to us, and a lot of people have been really exploited and erased from here. But a lot of indigenous people are also fighting for land and for the territories. The minority, it's, and I really love what you say, what one of you say, that generates money fast. And I think money is one of the biggest traps and tricks that we have been developing in this conversation and in this way of being, because it destroys life as well. And we see this in struggles, very strong struggles, and in communities like El Estor in Guatemala, which are fighting against huge minorities and in these huge technologies and the use of technologies that we are using, that we are increasing here in need to be developed by these minority sectors. Also in Wapinol, which is really important to understand how minorities are working here in the region. And Wapinol is one community who is fighting against also a minority company in Honduras, and many of them are being prosecuted. And I think, and maybe I have this question for you as well, how these struggles for land, you spoke about being criminalized and facing the death of some of your sisters and brothers. And I will also like to hear how they are using some laws to punish the struggles of land. And if you're facing, as well as we are, people in jail for fighting against these huge extractives and for fighting for their own land. We have seen also, we have faced also the loss of many brothers and sisters here in Mesoamerica, and the particular loss of Berta Cáceres, which I really hope that you have heard of. And now we wanted to see how solidarity is also bringing has brought to the struggles a huge part of the of hope. And I think I hear that from you as well. The solidarity that you have been shown, it's very important, and solidarity, it's among struggles, among issues, and among movements, it's very important. But also, and I wanna leave you with this question as well. How do we break the borders to strengthen solidarity among us and among the struggles and among these companies that are global, and they use the same actors and the same strategies to attack us all over the world. So how do we convene ourselves? How do we invite ourselves and inspire ourselves to support these struggles? And I want to end my participation with this saying that Berta used to say a lot. You know, just to aspire to be happy in our land with our own identity. It's a very subversive act, especially for women, but it is an act of love. Thank you for sharing with us, and thank you for teaching us to the world.
Thank you so much, so much, Daisy. We will never lose being subversive because it is an act of love. Thank you so much for that message, and also cementing the significance of solidarity. I have with me a couple of very deep questions, and I am going to invite 2 hands for questions, not comments, in the room. But before I allow that to happen, I would like to cross over to Malawi, to our Bodies, Our Lives sisters who are joining us. I don't know if you are in Lilongwe, Sibo, in Malawi, and joining us with the group of Obol women who would also like to add, given the struggle that they've been waging since they launched over 14 years ago, accompanied by JASS. So Sibo and the team Malawi, I invite you to also add your voices to this very important conversation. Sibongile.
Thank you so much, Pumi, and thank you, everyone. We are here, and all women are saying hi. Can we just say hi?
Hi.
We are over 30 of us. We are really loving this. Yes. Thanks so much. So let me let Tuonge speak on behalf of other fellow women on the comments that are coming from this room.
Thank you very much, ladies from Amadiba. We are happy to hear that your struggle is our struggle on women land rights. And for us as women here, we have also our policies, but like our constitution doesn't even speak directly on land. Our constitution on section 22, it speaks about the rights of women and the rights of productive resources, including land. It's not specifically stipulated in our constitution, but we have other laws like the Gender Equality Law, the Prevention of Domestic Violence Law, the Family Divorce and Marriage Act. It also stipulates the access and ownership of land, the right to land for women. So our struggles are also, your struggles are also our struggles. As you said, land is a capital and it's a fact. If you have land, you have control. If you have land, you have ownership. If you have land, you are ending poverty. So we just had questions. Members are having questions. One of the questions is, the land which you say the Amadiba women are accessing, is it an inheritance land? Do the women buy that particular land? How do they find money? The other question is on strategies. What were the strategies which you use to fight for that particular land, for the government to hear you? Because for Malawi is more than 10 years now, the land goes to the parliament, the Land Act goes to the parliament, they discuss, it was on pilot, and now it goes back to the parliament. So now no one tackles about land issues, land laws. And there are 10 land-related laws, of which for a woman here to own land, that means she needs to have money. So my question is, how many women who are at grassroots can afford to buy land? So there are a lot of intervention which can be done so that that particular women at grassroots level can access own land. Thank you.
Thank you. Oye.
Thank you so much, Nonhle. Thank you
Over to
so
you,
much,
Phumi.
Obol sisters. Thank you, Tiwonge and Sibo, for connecting us with the Obol sisters there. Yes, I have noted the 3 questions. And actually, I want to ask in the room if there's anyone else who has a question in this room who you would like to pose, so that then we do the responses and the wrapping up of the session. Any questions, comrade? Fantastic. Oh my God. And please introduce yourself. Say who you are.
Yeah, mine is very short. So I'm Pomima Tabela from the 1 in 9 campaign. And what I wanted to ask my sisters in the room was, what are the issues that you have been facing in regards to safety and security of the comrades? So the people who are leading, who are in the front, but also those that support you in the struggle. So how do you deal with the safety issue? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pumi. Please do introduce yourself before you ask your question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Constance Mate. My question, I just want to hear the challenge of the homeless people, evictions. How do you deal with the situation?
Thank you so much, Constance.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Thembi Shabalala. My question is with regard to women who are owning land in the rural communities. I just want to check with you, what are the challenges that women face with regard to the chiefs being, some women don't even have weight, they can't even stand in front of the chief, they had to be represented by a male counterpart. So I just wanted to find out, in terms of women, what are the challenges that women face?
Thank you so much for those questions, colleagues, comrades, on that. And from very similar type of questions my sisters have been posed on the chat box. The first one that really I'm going to put an interlink with what Tiwonge and the issue of safety and security raised by Mpumi came up, is the risk to loss of life avoidable in this struggle? How have other strategies, if any, being explored that could potentially reduce the loss of life? Is it possible to avoid? Because Zandile was saying, I will die here. Nonhle was saying, I will die in this, like, do we have to get into the death? What does it mean? Is there other strategies? Because really, if you link with what are we putting in place to think really about the safety and security? Daisy spoke about Ubetha that we've spoken about so many times amongst ourselves. That's the first question. Can we reflect on, in the same passion that we want to preserve the land, what is that about preserving? Because there is that life and then there is this life of breathing in and out. Makoma wants to start.
Thanks very much. When I started to speak, I said I find myself in a very privileged position. And also I think that my other two sisters and some other people in the room are privileged to be here today because we know that our lives are at risk. And you dare speak against injustices. You know that you are on the line. But I think the best ever strategy is to work within a collective. The amount of organizing that we've seen on the clip and the amount of organizing in other communities are our safety nets. That is the best ever safety net that you can get because you have a clarity of purpose. The community that you work in has got a clarity of purpose. But however, we find not just our physical threats to us speaking out, but now lately we faced a different form of repression where slap suits are being filed against us. If you really speak out against a particular company, what they're doing, or you unearth some form of corruption, then you are the slap suit. It's like launched on you. And we've got one case here in South Africa that I think it also involves the comrades in Amadiba that is going to sit in February. That is the first ever slap suit in South Africa. So it's a multiple thing that we're facing. And I feel that we also need to be sensitive around each other and about each other. And that's one thing that people have lost. If a person is at risk, if you know that a person is at risk, ask the person what the person feels would be the best form of protection, rather than just going about and making the person much more vulnerable. And that is something that we find continuously happening, and it's very insensitive, particularly to us as female comrades, as female activists, that people decide on your security without even checking your context, without even asking you, how do you feel or what form of security do you think it's important? We can't be working with a school of bodyguards. We work in communities, we have our families, and this should be our first line of defense, because we not only as activists, as individuals, this is for a collective good and for a collective common.
Or sometimes the solidarity can also put you in danger. Yeah, thank you so much, Sis Makoma. I want to go to Sis Zandile. Sis Zandile, there was a question around, homelessness and evictions, which is really at the heart of the struggles that Abahlali is waging, right? And the strategies that are so key. What are strategies that are key in challenging, in fighting to ensure that there are no evictions and no homelessness? And the role of all of us joining in today and beyond.
Yeah, as Abahlali, we used to fight against eviction by working with our human rights lawyers, social economic right institutes. They are the ones who are helping us, and they are also conducting workshops on how to stop evictions. Because within Abahlali, everyone knows that Section 26 is defending them, that no one can evict you without an alternative accommodation. Anyone who is a member of Abahlali will tell you that, and they know that before you evict them, must come with an eviction court order. Without an eviction court order, you can't evict them. But you know how they're operating, these people. They're shooting you. If you say you want a letter from the court, they shoot you. On the issue of safety, it's hard to disclose. But you can't make sure that you are safe because like when you are in the protest, the police are shooting you sometimes with live ammunition. So that's why some of the comrades are losing their lives. It's better if you heard early that they are looking for you, this is a plan, then you can go and hide somewhere else.
Thank you so much, Sis Zandile, because at the heart of that is also to say, what does community or collective safety mean? Where we live, where we strategize, where we can mitigate risk, right? So thank you so much for bringing that. And we have learned in a very hard ways about never to share our security plans. Thank you for that. Now, Sis Nonhle, I have two questions that they've, been put on the spot about. When I was visiting, we had a lot of conversation about the chiefs and the changing of the chiefs, and this chief was enabling those possibilities. And the question that was asked was patriarchy, especially if the chief is a man. And we know that in some areas across the African continent and possibly indeed the world, that there are some chiefs who are women, right? The role of the chiefs or chieftaincy in the ownership of land by women was a question that was asked. And next to that, it was like, how many women own land, which actually also stands on the other side of communal land, right? So that's the question that is being asked. Women owning land, and I'm adding the communal ownership.
Okay, thank you so much. When it comes to the traditional leaders, how the women manage, let's remember this. Traditional leadership, it was started quite a long time before, during the apartheid regime. And it was seems as a male thing. That's how it was being introduced. But it differ from different tribes. As in our tribe in Pondoland, when it comes to the land issue, the women have more access than men when it comes to land. Because in other tribes, we find women have no voice. As we are in a communal land, we are under traditional system where the other traditions, they are not allowing women to speak. But in Pondoland, the women are part of the structure in the traditional leadership. And in our community, where I come from, we are led by a woman. She's the head of our community, which is something is very rare in these tradition societies. And the good thing of being led by a woman, we've seen during this struggle, where we take our own government to court to claim our rights, that as communities, we have a right to decide, and we have a right to choose, and we have a right to give a consent to any development that is coming to us. And our own head woman, she's the one, she was putting an application to court on behalf of the community. And we are not regretting to be led by a woman, which is a good thing. And also to live in a communal land, it gives more a right to women because you are owning land in a collective way. And it protects the rights of the women. Because if the land, this is the other thing that as a Amambondo tribe that we reject, this called, I forget the English name, the title deed when it comes to land. Because we know that if somebody have a title deed, it's easy to sell a land. But in our community, we only have a permit to occupy, which is the right for you to occupy the land, but it doesn't give you a right to sell the land. But when it comes to sell the land, we need to take a decision as a collective. That is where it protects our right as women, that our land is not easy to sell. But unfortunately, the government is pushing that everybody must have a title deed in order to be easy to speak to one person, not to the whole community. And at the same time, they are pushing new laws when it comes to the land issue, where they push the Traditional and Khoisan Leadership Act, where it says that a chief and a dealer can make an agreement. Those two can make a deal, and then it's a done deal. And those acts or those laws are more threats to the women's right, because mostly chiefs, mostly traditional leaders are male. That means our land is in risk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Comrade Nonhle. Don't worry, you'll clap afterwards, Comrade. Hold on it. Thank you so much. Comrades, we have 4 minutes left for what has been a really rich discussion with everyone who's been able to join us from across the world. Many people saying that they are expressing solidarity and a great sense of inspiration from what has been shared, and also what they were able to see from the documentary. And other comrades saying, you know, we want to know more how we can actually extend and show solidarity in a respectful way. And I'm going to ask you to speak about the 5th of December, particularly the upcoming solidarity action that is necessary. And other questions are really about, you know, some of the concrete gains that Amadiba, Abahlali have made in the past while, but more like, I think it's linked to that safety and security question of how do we sustain this? How do we keep the energies, you know, in a moment of crisis? How do we do that? So what I'm going to try and do, knowing that, you know, it's not going to do any justice, like just a few minutes to say, starting from Usis Makoma, your closing remarks, Swami, in no more than 2 minutes. What is it that you are taking, and what is the call that you are making to all of us?
Thank you. I think we may see the struggle of Amadiba Crisis Committee as a struggle against mining prospect in their area. But however, it's an eye-opener to what sort of development do people want, and are they be consulted on the kind of development that they want? This is a struggle of environmental justice. This is a struggle for food sovereignty. This is a struggle against climate change. This is a struggle for the protection of human rights. But moreover, it's much more a struggle for protecting our land, preserving our biodiversity, and guarding our environment so that we can live, because we can't live in a dead planet.
Thank you so much, Comrade Makoma. It's a struggle for life. Thank you. Sis Zandile. Kokelia.
For me, I would like to say forward with the struggle of Amadiba Crisis forward, because they've shown us that their women are brave enough to face all the challenges, and they show all those the government and those business people that their land is not for sale. Their land is very important to them. They understand the value of land is wealthier than that money they are going to give them, and that money is going to get finished. So I would like to say to them, power to the women, because I've seen the power of the women in that struggle. Amandla, umandla.
Amandla. Amandla. Thank you, Sis Zandile. Sis Nonhle. Tell us, what does this all mean for you, and the message you are taking back to comrades who were not able to join us, you know, virtually or in person here. And also to speak about, what does the 5th of December coming this weekend mean for Amadiba Crisis Committee and how we can show up.
The struggle of land, you save the woman. That's the struggle of a land. What I'm trying to say that if you save the land, you save the future. Because once you destroy the land, you destroy the future of the next generation. And the more we unite, the more we defeat the enemy. And also what I know that the capitalism hate the organized. Let's keep ourselves organized. On the 5th of December, we are organizing ourselves all over the world, fighting against extractivism in our oceans. Mining our oceans in the name of fixing the crisis economy, that's not a solution. We are facing a climate change. We cannot continue with fossil fuels as a country. And it's a big disappointment as we are coming from COP26. All our presidents, they were clapping hands, agreed to that they're going to mitigate the climate change, including our own presidents, and welcoming the funding to mitigate the climate change. But what the South African government make an agreement with Shell that they must explore the oil and gas in our wild coast beaches. That is a very disappointing. That is why we call upon everybody to sign petition. There is petition online. There is also a protest along all the world. In London, there is comrades that are in solidarity with us. On the 5th also, they will be marching in the headquarters of Shell in London. There is protest even tomorrow here in Joburg, supporting protect the ocean of South Africa, because ocean is our livelihood. Ocean is our spiritual place where we're healing ourselves. Now, we cannot allow our ocean to be destroyed and to be contaminated in the name of development. Thank you.
A round of applause for our sisters. Thank you. Thank you so much, Nonhle, Zandile, Makoma, my sisters, who continue to be important teachers to so many of us in struggle, who continue to invite us to think outside of the boxes of identity struggles, but to also understand very deeply what feminism means and standing together as feminist activists to defend life, because land is life. So thank you so much for joining us. The information about the protest and the global call on the 5th of December to actually save the oceans will be shared across JASS platforms. And we hope that in any possible way in which you can show up and show solidarity to really defend life by defending our oceans will go a long way, small steps. One of the questions that was posed was, what have we won, right? What has Amadiba Abahlali won? I think the most important thing for me, I would like to say, speaking for myself, is that they have won the many, many hearts and activist commitments across the globe to make us see the connections between struggles, to make us see the importance that one struggle, all struggles. And if there's anything, it means that we will show up, whether it is in the streets, in the courts, and in the building of our collective power to actually keep winning. Thank you so much, everybody in very late at night in Southeast Asia, early in the morning in the Americas, and across Africa and Europe. Thank you for joining us. I would like to thank very much our sisters at AWID who accompanied us in the making of the documentary under the leadership of Sisnana. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank very much the background team, Zuki, Loti, and so many of the JASS sisters who we often never ever see here. And I would like to thank the interpreters, Paulina and Grace, and everybody who has joined, and the patience of this wonderful room in Johannesburg where we are having the cross movement, cross issue dialogue. Thank you everyone for being here. Continue to support the struggles of Amadiba, the struggles that are being waged by Abahlali, baseMjondolo, and of course, keep lifting that. Amandla, Amandla, all power, all power. Thank you.
I know I fall.